All right, so Harvey is asking, where was Esau during Joseph's famine?
Harvey, that is a great question. Um, Actually, that's something that I've kind of thought about in a way as well, because we know in the story of Joseph, Joseph is the son of Jacob, who became Israel, and Jacob was the younger brother of Esau. Now, you know that, the story of Joseph, how he was sold as a slave into Egypt, into the house of Potiphar, and then he became a prisoner when he was falsely accused, and then eventually he became second to Pharaoh. As providence would have it, that he was able to interpret dreams. And so basically, through Joseph, the nation of Egypt was blessed, and um, basically became a landmark for being able to provide food, because Joseph was given a warning through a dream that God gave to Pharaoh, and where there would be 7 years of plenty, where they were to store up and prepare for 7 years of famine. And so because Egypt was the only nation in the world that had prepared properly for this famine, Egypt became a center for people coming to be able to have their needs provided for, and Egypt became very wealthy because of it. So we see that because of Joseph, the nation of Egypt was blessed. Now, during that time, we know that Jacob, who became Israel, like I said, sent his sons to Egypt in order to get grain to sustain their family. But the question that is definitely begged is like, well, what happened to Esau? Why didn't he come to Egypt? Why don't we hear anything about him? And so that is a good question. And I can't say exactly Bible answer, but I will share with you a few things that the Bible does mention. And the first thing I want to share is just kind of where Esau was. And the Bible does make that very clear. If you look at the book of Genesis, chapter 32, starting in verse 3, or just verse 3, if you have it, Genesis chapter 32 and verse 3. And the Bible says, you want to put it up? I don't know if we can. If not, it's okay. I can read it. So basically it says, and Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, into the land of Seir, the country of Edom. So basically where Esau was in the mountain of Seir, in the country of Edom. And the Bible actually says something very interesting a little bit later. This is basically when, right before Jacob goes to meet his brother, and they forgive each other, and there's a reconciliation, and it's just a really beautiful story. But basically, it says where Esau was, which was in Mount Seir, which is the land of Edom. And the Bible makes it very clear about this place, Edom, in Genesis chapter 36 and verse 8. So I'll go ahead and read that for you. But that's pretty much key as to where Esau was during his lifetime. And it says in Genesis 36:8, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. So basically the nation of Edom, the Edomites that you read about in the Bible, are all based on the nation of Esau. Now, why was that the case? You see that again later in the Bible in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. And I think this kind of gives the answer maybe you're looking for. At least it satisfied my curiosity. So I hope it answers your question. Deuteronomy, if I could spell that, it's in my Bible. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. And so basically this comes later on, after, the Israelites are delivered by Moses, and after they spent 40 years waiting in the wilderness, they're finally going to make it to the promised land. And they're going to walk through Edom, because basically where Edom was it's a mountain in the southeastern part of Judah. And so it's actually pretty close to Egypt. It's where you would call Canaan, basically, a little bit south of Israel. So basically this place, though, seems to be pretty special. So again, in Deuteronomy chapter 2, verses 4 and 5, God says something very specific about this land. And so it says in Deuteronomy 2, 4 and 5, and command thou the people, saying, you are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. take you good heed unto yourselves, therefore. So God's saying, be careful. In verse 5, it says, meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land. No, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for possession. And so God was very clear to the nation of Israel that this area of Edom, this Mount Seir, that God gave it to Esau and all of his descendants. And so God was not going to give it to Israel. So what kind of makes me think when I read this is that this must have been a very nice land. This must have been a land probably, I mean, if it's up in the mountains, probably had, better water retention, maybe more rainfall, you know what I mean? They might have been able to sustain themselves a little bit better than those that were maybe down in the valleys or plains, down in other areas. So basically what I think probably happened, I think Esau's descendants probably were okay during the time of Joseph's famine. I would think so, based on just kind of the picture I see of this land, that it was, up in the mountains. It was, very nice. Obviously it was something that God had to say, hey, don't even meddle with these people. Don't bother them. Okay. I'm preserving this for them. Okay. This is their heritage. And so I would suspect that it was a very nice land, and it probably brought forth a lot of produce, and they were able to sustain themselves, would be my guess. Is it possible that maybe they needed to go down and buy food from Egypt during that time? It's possible, but the Bible just doesn't mention it. So I hope that gives you some clear picture of, where Esau was during that time. He definitely lived in Mount Seir, and his descendants were there for generations. The Bible goes through generation after generation of Esau and all his descendants. Like there was dukes that came out of him, and all these special and important people that are mentioned in his lineage. So it's pretty cool if you get a chance to read that. But yeah, he was definitely in Edom, in Mount Seir. That's what the Bible has to say about that. So any other thoughts, dear Wendy?
Nope, that's how I see it too. Very nice.
Awesome.